I, 29F, am facing a dilemma with my boyfriend Sean, 32M, over my cat Milo's sleeping arrangements. Milo has been my faithful companion for 7 years, ever since I adopted him from a local shelter. He was just a tiny kitten then, barely 8 weeks old, with big green eyes and a purr that could melt anyone's heart. I remember the day I got Milo like it was yesterday. I had just moved into my first solo apartment after college and was feeling overwhelmed and lonely. My best friend dragged me to the shelter, insisting that a pet would help me feel more at home. As soon as I saw Milo, curled up in the corner of his cage, I knew he was meant to be mine. Since then, Milo has been by my side through everything. He was there when I landed my first real job at a marketing firm, celebrating with me by playfully attacking the balloons my parents sent. He comforted me when I was laid off 2 years later, during the economic downturn. I spent weeks feeling lost and depressed, but Milo's constant presence and affectionate headbutts kept me going. Milo has always slept in my bedroom. He has a cozy cat bed next to my nightstand, but he often prefers the cat tree by the window. On cold nights or when I'm feeling under the weather, he'll curl up next to me on the bed, his rhythmic purring lulling me to sleep. I met Sean about 10 months ago at a friend's barbecue. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of indie films and obscure 80s bands. He's smart, funny, and generally very considerate. Our relationship has been great, except for one significant issue: he can't stand having Milo in the bedroom when he stays over. Sean claims that Milo disturbs his sleep. He says the cat's nighttime activities, jumping on and off the bed, occasionally meowing, or simply moving around, keep him awake. I was surprised by this at first because Milo is generally quite calm at night. Sure, he might have the occasional bout of late-night zoomies, but it's not a regular occurrence. I've tried to compromise by keeping Milo out of the bedroom a few times when Sean stayed over. It didn't go well at all. Milo sat outside the door, meowing plaintively all night. His cries were heartbreaking, and ironically, even more disruptive to our sleep than his usual nighttime behavior. Milo's distress at being shut out made me feel terribly guilty. This cat has been my rock through some of the toughest times in my life. When my grandmother passed away last year, Milo seemed to sense my grief. He barely left my side for weeks, providing silent comfort as I processed my loss. The thought of regularly excluding him from my room, a space he's always had access to, feels wrong on so many levels. Sean and I had been managing this issue, albeit uneasily, for a few months. But last weekend, things came to a head. Sean stayed over on Friday night, and I let Milo sleep in the room as usual. Around 3 a.m., Milo jumped on the bed and accidentally stepped on Sean's face as he was making his way to my side. Sean woke up startled and upset. He said he couldn't deal with this anymore and that I needed to make a choice between having him stay over or having Milo in the room. I was taken aback by the ultimatum. I told Sean that Milo was here first and this is his home too. I explained that I wasn't willing to disrupt Milo's routine and cause him distress just to accommodate Sean's preferences. This led to a heated argument, with Sean accusing me of prioritizing my cat over our relationship. The argument brought up some deeper issues we hadn't fully addressed before. Sean admitted that he'd never had pets growing up. His parents were both busy professionals who viewed animals as an unnecessary responsibility. He said he's always struggled to understand the deep bond some people have with their pets. I shared more about my history with Milo, explaining how he's been a constant source of comfort and companionship through various life challenges. I told Sean about how Milo helped me through a painful breakup with my college boyfriend, always there with a purr and a nuzzle when I was crying. I described how Milo would sit on my lap while I was job hunting after being laid off, somehow making the endless cycle of applications and rejections feel less daunting. Sean listened but still seemed frustrated. He pointed out that while he understands my attachment to Milo, he needs quality sleep to function well at his high-stress job in finance. He suggested that maybe we're not as compatible as we thought if we can't agree on something as basic as sleeping arrangements. His words hit me hard. Until now, our relationship had been going so well. We share similar values, enjoy the same activities, and generally communicate effectively. This is the first major conflict we've encountered, and it's making me question our long-term compatibility. Part of me wonders if I should just give in and try harder to keep Milo out of the bedroom. But another part feels like that would be betraying Milo's trust and disrupting a long-established routine. Plus, I sleep better knowing he's nearby. It's a comfort I've grown accustomed to over the years. I'm also concerned about the precedent it would set. If Sean and I eventually move in together, what other aspects of Milo's life would he want to change? Would he expect Milo to be confined to certain areas of the house? The thought makes me uncomfortable. At the same time, I understand Sean's need for uninterrupted sleep. His job is demanding, often requiring early mornings and late nights. I want to be a supportive partner, but I'm struggling to find a solution that works for everyone. I've considered compromises like getting a white noise machine to mask any sounds Milo might make, or maybe rearranging the bedroom to give Milo a space further from the bed. But I'm not sure if these solutions would satisfy Sean. This situation has me questioning a lot of things. Am I being unreasonable for refusing to change Milo's sleeping arrangements? Am I putting my cat's needs above my relationship? Or am I right to stand my ground on this? I love Sean and want our relationship to work, but Milo is family to me. The bond we share is something I cherish deeply. The idea of having to choose between them is heartbreaking. I'm looking for advice on how to navigate this situation. Has anyone else dealt with a similar issue? How do you balance the needs of a pet with those of a partner? Am I the asshole for prioritizing my cat's routine over my boyfriend's comfort? Update 1. It's been about a month since my original post, and I wanted to provide an update on the situation with Sean and Milo. After our argument, Sean and I took a few days apart to cool off and reflect on the situation. We then met up at a neutral location, a quiet cafe we both like, to have a serious discussion about our relationship and the ongoing cat dilemma. I started by sharing more stories about my history with Milo, trying to help Sean understand the depth of our bond. I told him about the time 2 years ago when I was going through a particularly stressful period at work. I was pulling long hours on a big project, often coming home well past midnight. No matter how late I returned, Milo would always be waiting by the door, ready to provide comfort and companionship. His presence helped me decompress and maintain my sanity during those challenging weeks. I also opened up about how Milo helped me cope with my anxiety. There have been nights when worries about work or family would keep me awake, my mind racing. On those nights, Milo seems to sense my distress. He'll curl up close to me, his steady purring acting as a natural calming mechanism. It's more effective than any meditation app I've tried. Sean listened attentively to these stories. He admitted that he had never really understood the depth of the human-animal bond before, having grown up in a pet-free household. He shared a bit about his own background, how his parents' focus on career advancement meant that pets were seen as an unnecessary distraction. In his family, success was measured by professional achievements, not personal relationships. This conversation helped us both gain a better understanding of each other's perspectives. Sean expressed that while he still struggled to fully relate to my bond with Milo, he could see how important it was to me. However, he reiterated his concerns about sleep quality, explaining how lack of sleep affects his performance at work and his overall mood. We spent some time brainstorming potential compromises. First, we agreed to try using a white noise machine in the bedroom to mask any small sounds Milo might make at night. We also decided to rearrange the room a bit, moving Milo's cat tree further from the bed to reduce the chances of him jumping on us during the night. Additionally, I committed to playing more with Milo in the evenings to tire him out before bedtime. Sean even suggested he could participate in these play sessions, both to bond with Milo and to help ensure a calmer night. For the past 3 weeks, we've been testing this new arrangement whenever Sean stays over, which is about 3 to 4 nights a week. The results have been mixed. On the positive side, the white noise machine has definitely helped muffle Milo's movements, and Sean says he's sleeping better overall. There have been several nights where Sean slept through Milo's nighttime activities without issue. Sean has also been making an effort to engage with Milo more. He's participated in a few play sessions, and last week he even bought Milo a new interactive toy. It's a small gesture, but it means a lot to me to see him trying. However, we've still had a couple of challenging nights. Last week, Milo got a case of the midnight zoomies and raced around the room, waking Sean up. Another night, he meowed persistently at 4 a.m. until I got up to feed him. I admit, this is a bad habit I've unintentionally reinforced over the years and need to work on. After each of these incidents, Sean was noticeably frustrated. He's been trying to be patient, but I can tell it's wearing on him. He made a comment the other day about looking forward to when we eventually move in together and can set some new rules. This remark made me uneasy, as I have no intention of significantly changing Milo's lifestyle if we cohabitate. I'm glad we're trying to work things out, but I'm still concerned about our long-term compatibility. Sean's comment about new rules makes me wonder if he's just tolerating the current situation in hopes that it will change later. I've been clear that Milo is a package deal with me, but I'm not sure he fully accepts that. Another issue that's come up is the frequency of our sleepovers. Sean has suggested that maybe we should spend more nights at his place, where Milo obviously wouldn't be an issue. While I understand his reasoning, the thought of spending significantly less time in my own home doesn't sit well with me. I worry about Milo feeling abandoned, and I miss him when I'm not there. On a more positive note, there have been a few mornings where I've woken up to find Sean absent-mindedly petting Milo. It's a small thing, but it gives me hope that maybe they can develop a bond over time. I'm cautiously optimistic but still unsure about the future. Am I naive to think this can work long term if Sean isn't a cat person? Should I be concerned about his comment regarding future rules? How do I balance my commitment to Milo with my desire to make this relationship work? Any advice on navigating this situation would be greatly appreciated. Has anyone else managed to bridge the gap between a pet lover and someone who's never had pets? Are there other compromises we haven't thought of? Update 2. It's been another month, and I wanted to provide another update on the ongoing situation with Sean, Milo, and our sleeping arrangements. Things have taken an unexpected turn. 2 weeks ago, Sean stayed over for a long weekend. On the second night, I woke up around 3 a.m. and was surprised to find Milo curled up on Sean's chest, purring contentedly. Even more surprising was that Sean, usually a light sleeper, was sound asleep and didn't seem bothered at all. In the morning, I cautiously brought it up, half expecting Sean to be upset. To my shock, he sheepishly admitted that he'd woken up briefly when Milo jumped on the bed, but decided to let him stay because he looked so peaceful. He said he actually found Milo's purring soothing and slept better than usual. This seemed like a breakthrough, and I allowed myself to feel hopeful. Over the next week, Milo continued to sleep on or near Sean when he stayed over. He seemed to have decided Sean was an acceptable sleeping buddy, and Sean appeared to be warming up to the idea. I started to think that maybe we had turned a corner. Sean even mentioned that he was getting used to Milo's presence and that it wasn't bothering him as much. We had a few really good nights where everyone slept peacefully, and I began to believe we had found a solution. However, just when I thought things were looking up, we hit another snag. Last weekend, Sean had an important work presentation on Monday morning. He stayed over Sunday night, and unfortunately, it was one of those nights where Milo was extra active. It started around midnight when Milo decided to play with his crinkly toy mouse, the one Sean had bought him, ironically. Then at 2 a.m., he meowed for food. I didn't get up, trying to break that habit, but it took him a while to settle down. Finally, at 5:30 a.m., Milo decided it was the perfect time for zoomies around the room. Sean was understandably upset in the morning. He said he barely slept and felt unprepared for his presentation. In his frustration, he made some harsh comments about Milo being a nightmare and how he couldn't imagine dealing with this long term. I felt terrible about his presentation but was also hurt by his words about Milo. We had a tense conversation where I reminded him that Milo's occasional nighttime antics are just part of living with a cat. I also pointed out that he'd been sleeping fine with Milo for the past week and that this was an unusually active night for him. Sean apologized for his harsh words but said he's still unsure about the whole situation. He suggested that maybe we should spend more nights at his place to balance things out. While I understand his perspective, the thought of spending significantly less time at my own home doesn't sit well with me. This incident has brought back all my previous concerns about our compatibility. I'm starting to wonder if the peaceful nights we had were just a temporary reprieve rather than a real solution. I'm also worried about the impact this is having on Milo. Cats are sensitive to atmosphere, and I'm sure he can pick up on the tension between Sean and me. I've noticed him being a bit more clingy than usual lately, almost as if he senses his place in our lives is being questioned. Sean and I are at a bit of an impasse now. The brief period of harmony with Milo sleeping on Sean seems to have been disrupted by this one bad night. I'm not sure where we go from here. Part of me wonders if I'm being selfish. Should I be more willing to spend nights at Sean's place? But then I think about Milo waiting for me at home, probably feeling confused and abandoned, and my heart aches. I'm also concerned about the long-term implications. If Sean and I are struggling this much to coexist with Milo now, what would happen if we decided to move in together? Would Sean expect Milo to suddenly change all his habits? That doesn't seem fair or realistic. At the same time, I care about Sean and value our relationship. When things are good between us, they're really good. We share so many interests and generally communicate well. It's just this one issue that keeps coming between us. I'm at a loss for what to do next. Is this a fundamental incompatibility between us? Am I being unreasonable for not wanting to spend more time at his place? Should I be more understanding of his need for uninterrupted sleep, even if it means seeing less of Milo? Has anyone else been in a similar situation? How did you resolve it? I'm open to any advice or perspectives you can offer. Update 3. It's been 2 more weeks, and I'm afraid this update isn't a happy one. After much discussion and soul-searching, Sean and I have decided to end our relationship. Following the incident with Sean's work presentation, we try to find a middle ground. We spent more nights at his place, but I found myself constantly worried about Milo and feeling guilty for leaving him alone so much. Even when we were at my place, there was always an underlying tension about Milo's nighttime behavior. The breaking point came last weekend. Sean and I were having a conversation about our future, tentatively discussing the possibility of moving in together someday. That's when Sean suggested that when we eventually share a home, Milo should be trained to sleep in a separate room. He argued that it was a reasonable compromise for the sake of our relationship. This led to a long, emotional discussion where we both realized we had fundamentally different views on pet ownership and what we wanted our home life to look like. I explained again that Milo isn't just a pet to me, he's family. The idea of shutting him out of my bedroom every night or significantly changing his routine for someone else's comfort just doesn't align with my values. I tried to help Sean understand by sharing more stories about my bond with Milo. I told him about the time I was sick with the flu last year, barely able to get out of bed. Milo stayed by my side the entire time, only leaving to use his litter box. His presence was incredibly comforting during those miserable days. Sean listened patiently but admitted that he doesn't feel the same way about animals and doesn't think he ever will. He explained that in his ideal home, pets would have their place, but that place wouldn't be in the bedroom or on furniture. He wants a home environment that he can control and organize according to his preferences. We both realized that this wasn't just about where a cat sleeps, it's about our different life perspectives and priorities. I want a home where my pets are fully integrated family members, quirks and all. Sean wants a more structured environment with clearer boundaries between humans and pets. After a lot of soul-searching and tears on both sides, we decided that ending the relationship now would be better than trying to force a compatibility that just isn't there. It's painful, but I believe it's the right choice for both of us in the long run. The day after we made this decision, I found myself sitting on my couch, crying. Milo, sensing my distress, climbed into my lap and started purring. In that moment, I felt simultaneously heartbroken about the end of my relationship with Sean and incredibly grateful for Milo's unwavering companionship. I'm sad about the breakup, but I also feel a sense of relief. I no longer have to feel guilty about Milo's behavior or worry about future conflicts over his place in my life. This experience has reinforced for me how important Milo is to my happiness and well-being. Looking back, I can see that Sean and I tried our best to make things work. We both made efforts to compromise and understand each other's perspectives. But in the end, our fundamental values about pets and home life were just too different to reconcile. This experience has taught me a lot about my own values and what I need in a partner. In the future, I'll be sure to be upfront about Milo's role in my life from the very beginning of any new relationship. I realize now that for me, accepting Milo isn't just a nice to have in a partner, it's a must-have. For now, I'm taking some time to heal and focus on myself, and Milo, of course. I've signed us up for a cat agility class at the local pet store, which should be a fun bonding experience. I'm also thinking about volunteering at the shelter where I adopted Milo, as a way to give back and maybe help other cats find their forever homes. I'm grateful for all the advice and support I received here. Your comments helped me see the situation more clearly and gave me the courage to stand up for what I believe is right for me and Milo. To anyone else facing a similar dilemma, my advice would be to really listen to your heart. Pets are a lifelong commitment, and anyone you bring into your life needs to understand and respect that. Milo and I are going to be just fine. In fact, as I write this, he's curled up next to me on the couch, purring away. Life goes on, and with Milo by my side, I know I can face whatever comes next.